All right, bottom bouncers. Everybody knows right now in St. Clair River, if you don't know, bottom bouncers are hot. Why do you want to use a bottom bouncer? Why do these things work? What does a bottom bouncer do? Bottom bouncer does only one job. It's a piece of wire with a lead on it. It does one job and it does it well. It keeps your bait near the bottom and it does it in a snag resistant way. All it is a piece of wire with a hunk of lead on it. That's all it is. It's not a piece of magic. It's not a secret way to use it. How you use it though, and how you fish them is a very effective tool. One thing you need to fish it right is to run the bouncer so only the lower wire is ticking the bottom occasionally. Just the bottom. You don't want it to bounce. You don't want it to drag. You just want it almost like float down. You just occasionally ticking. Almost like if you're jigging the bottom, but you're not jigging this. Just so it just occasionally ticks. You don't want it to drag. You don't want it to be on the bottom flat like this. You just want it to be right. Going down the river, just occasionally ticking the bottom. So to do that, you got to have the right weight. If you let out too much line, like I said, the bouncer's going to tilt on its side. It's going to drag along the bottom. It's going to be prone to snagging. So you got to have the right amount of weight on there. Now it's great on lakes. Bottom bouncers are usually trolled or drifted from the back of a boat. They can be used in rivers, lakes, channels. You can use them in rocks, gravel, and you can even plow them right through weeds if you got a heavy enough one. They'll go right through weeds if you use them correctly. Now one thing I want to show you right here, I'll pull out the rod, kind of like he's using. See, this guy is out west. He's in the front of the boat. He's got a rod in his hand. We don't do that here. We fish from the back of the boat. The reason why he's in the front of the boat using a rod like this, and they're out west. They're fishing reservoirs. And they're fishing contours, sunken islands, channels, sunken roads, stuff that we don't fish with no current. We got current. We got a lot of current. We got current coming out of our, you know what. So we don't fish on the front of the boat, because when you got current and you got a fish on, that fish is way behind you and you've got a net of fish that's coming up from underneath the boat. They're fishing and they can pull it right up underneath themselves. You don't want to fish in front of the boat. They're fishing with shorter rods. They're fishing with a lot of stuff that we don't use. So you see those guys in the front of the boat fishing like tournaments. We don't do that. We're fishing in the back of the boat. In fact, a lot of the guys out west, when Great Lakes guys, like Jerry Fox Jr., Jerry Fox, a lot of the guys from the Great Lakes that went out there and started fishing bouncers from the back of the boat, started cleaning their clocks, they started fishing out of the back of the boats too, with the style of rods and reels that I'll show you. Rod placement. Here's some rod placements that we started using, and I'll show you the rods that I got. On the back corners, I'm using 8.5 foot rods on these back half corner rods. And the rods I'm using are like steelhead rods. They're not real expensive steelhead rods. These are like Cabela's rods or some other rods that you could get. I've got them up here. These are 8.5 foot rods, and they're real light, medium light rods, and they're coming off the corners right here. These rods are 10 foot rods. They get the bouncers out farther away, and you can spread your presentation out farther. And then in front of this, because Michigan had changed their laws a few years ago, 3 rods per person. If you got 2 guys in a boat, that means 6 rods. And that's about as many bouncers I can get out on my boat. I got a shorter rod up here, like a 7 foot rod, coming up in front of my console, going down. So I've got like a 3-ounce bouncer here and a 3-ounce bouncer here going down. And off the 7-foot rod, I'll put a 4-ounce bouncer. That eliminates a lot of tangles that way. So you got a heavier rod, little shorter rod up front, but you got longer rods coming off the sides. I'll show you this 10-foot rod. This is a 10-foot steelhead rod. This is nothing fancy. It's a Cabela's rod. It's not real expensive. But the thing about these longer rods, these lighter rods, when a fish hits, they can't feel it. And it just loads and loads and loads. And then they're hooked. The biggest thing I keep telling people when they're in my boat, don't grab the rods. Leave it in the rod holder. These are dead stick rods. You leave them in the holder. When a fish hits, you see this rod load up, don't grab it until you see this. This fish is hooked. When it's loaded and that fish is fighting the rod, then you grab the rod. That fish is hooked. You do not, when you see the rod go tick, 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 like a perch, or they're just starting to inhale the bait, do not grab it. You're going to pull it out of their mouth 99% of the time. You put this out in the rod holder. You can adjust it as you're going up and down the side of the rivers, the river edge, or as you're going up and down and you see the river bottom goes up and down, the current edges, the edges. But you don't set the hook until the fish is hooked itself. That's what these rods do. They hook themselves. These fish hook themselves. That's what these rods do. Same thing with the 8.5 footer. Off the back. Now this 10-footer goes straight out. So you got a boat that's 10 foot, and you got another 10-footer, plus the width of the boat. You're covering 27 feet of width of the river, plus the 8.5 off the back. Same thing with these 8.5. Now this rod's from Browning. I don't think they even make it anymore. Cabela still makes that rod. But this was a great rod. Same thing with this. I just like the action of it. Real soft, but it's got a lot of backbone. It'll hold a bouncer. Once that fish is hooked up, most rods that say they're bouncer rods are stiff. They're made for that kind of fishing that those guys sit in the front of the boat for. I'll show you the difference. This is a so-called bottom bouncer rod. This is made for bottom bouncing. Can you see the difference? Instead of half of it going, only the top third goes. Big difference in action. This, when a fish hits it, they can feel it and they'll drop it. This is made for when the guys fish this, they have to drop it back to the fish. When they hit, this is why they hold it in their hand all the time. They feel a fish, they drop it back to the fish. They'll even feed line to it. They have a feeding bar. They'll hit the bar, and they feed line to it. They feed line to the fish, and then they set the hook. We really can't do that around here. Not with the St. Clair River, the current, the snags in it. I just wanted to bring that in to show you the difference between them. Because when I fish tournaments out there, I just said, this is stupid. You can hit the dead sticks way out fish. In fact, they even say that in the Cavallas and Parsons. They'll be fishing out there, they'll be using these rods, and they'll say the dead sticks outfish these rods all the time. And I'm going, then why are you using them? Didn't make sense. These These are the rods you want to get. Another real good rod is the Shakespeare Ugly Sticks. 7-foot medium light ugly sticks. Guys have been using them for years, and for a 7-foot rod for the front up here, 7-foot ugly sticks, medium light, inexpensive rod, about $45, $50 in most bait shops. You can buy them, medium light ugly sticks. Great rods, great action, really nice light action. Most of the guys, charter captains in Lake Erie use those rods as dead stick rods. They're trolling or they're drifting, guys are casting. They put those medium light ugly sticks down for bottom bouncing rods, and they leave them out there and they catch extra fish on them all the time for bottom bouncing. Those ugly sticks are great rods, but it's the 7-foot medium light ugly sticks. Great rods. But that's a really good rod placement when you're in the St. Clair River. That forward 7-foot rod, middle 10-foot, back rod's 8.5. If you can't get the 10-foot rods, put 8.5 foot in the middle, and then 7 foots off the back corners. That'll work too. Am I going backwards? Yeah, you're going backwards for some reason. Okay, when choosing the speed to run your bouncer and spinner, it's best to start out going just fast enough to get a blade spinning. What you want to do is get this blade so it just turns over. You want that blade to just turn over. And I can't tell you exactly what your ground speed or your GPS speed is, because it's going to vary each day depending on if you got a north wind pushing you down current, south wind pushing you up current, or a combination of, what speed it is. All I can tell you is you got to go troll down current fast enough to get that blade to just barely turn over. You don't want it turning real fast, and you don't want it to wobble back and forth. You want it to just turn over, just to spin over, just to be able to turn over. It's all about just be able to go fast for that blade to turn over. When picking your bouncer, you want it to run at about a 45-degree angle from your rod tip. Again, it depends on what depth you're going to be at. So like in the morning, you're going to start real tight in the shore early in the morning. Fish on the shallow first drop. Your rods might be real close to the docks, and then move out deeper as the fish move out. So you might be starting out with a 2 or 2.5 ounce bouncer and then end up with a 4 ounce bouncer. So you're going to have multiple types of bouncers in the boat. So you're going to have to start, and you're going to have to change. And again, depends. If you got a south current and it's going to be pushing you hard, you might have to have a heavier bouncer to start out with the day than the day before when you had a north wind blowing you real fast down and you didn't need as heavy of a bouncer. So it changes every day. A good rule of thumb is 1 ounce for every 10 feet of water, that depth that you're in. But again, like I said, it depends on the speed of the wind of that day, what direction it's in, what the current condition of that day is. Everybody who's ever been in the St. Clair River knows if you've got a hard north wind, you got more current pushing you down, and you might have to go faster down current than you did. And if you got a hard south wind with the waves and everything, you're going to have to counteract that. Bottom bouncer styles. You got an open bend, that R bend right here. I don't know if you can see those. You've seen them, a lot of them in the stores at Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's. It's got an R open bend. That is for directly tying on to your line. Do not use those with a snap or snap swivel, because it'll slide right out and you'll be dragging that thing. That is for tying directly onto your line and using out west, like I told you, in the front, and you're holding it onto your line. They're a pain. If you buy some, or if you get some as a present, take your pliers, turn it over. That wire can be bent and turned, and you got a closed loop all of a sudden. Closed bends, much more versatile for around here. You can use a snap or snap swivel on those. That's what I prefer to use. Sliding bouncers, you can use those. The problem with those is the little plastic clevises that come with them. You have to use, in fact, on that 10-foot rod, I'll show you if you want to come up here at the break. Problem with those is when you get a wire, gets the sliding bouncers, when they get really stuck into a rock or something, what happens is, what's the weak spot? That plastic clevis. They snap and they break. You'll lose your, you lose the bouncer and you break the clevis. What happens? You got to pull everything up. You got to retie. You got to find another one of those black clevises. You got to put it on your line, retie, put on another, find out another bouncer, put that on, put it back down. Then you're probably going to break that off too. I gave up on using those. I use regular closed round bouncers, just like these, regular bouncers. I use those sliders. They work okay if you want to use them out in the lake. I don't really recommend them for in the rivers anymore. I know the foxes use them; they love them. I've lost too much time, and those clevises break. There's also floating arm bottom bouncers. They're a lot more expensive. The arm actually, it's a two separate thing. It's like a sliding bouncer with another arm that's put on there, and they actually rotate around the bouncer. They're a lot more expensive. They're supposed to be tangleless. I don't buy it. I've tried them. They tangle up just as much, if not more, than the closed bend bouncers do. So I like the closed bend. I use those. By the way, the colored bouncers, stay away from them. I like a regular lead bouncer. If anything, I'll take a black Sharpie and blacken them out. I want all the attention on my bait. Always, I have always said this. Whatever I have tried using all kind of different things. Believe me, over 20 years tournament fishing and fishing all kind of stuff, all over the country. I have tried everything. Believe me, I want all the attention of the fish on my bait where the hooks are. I don't care about an attractor of a colored bouncer. Why do I want the fish to look at a bouncer? There are no hooks on it. I want all the attention where the hooks are, where the bait is, where the hooks are. I don't care about having color on the bouncer. I don't care about having anything else on there. I want all the fish's attention where those hooks are. Period. That's my opinion, and I'll stick with it. All right, what if you don't have the right amount of bouncers for the fishing? Like I said, you got 6 rods out, and you need to change to 4-ounce bouncers, and you got 2 of them on board. But you got 3-ounce bouncers. Rubber core sinkers. If you got 1-ounce rubber core sinkers, you can add a 1-ounce bouncer. You can make a 3-ounce bouncer and a 4-ounce bouncer. Keep some rubber core sinkers on board. Take a rubber core, put it above the weight. Sorry, I can't stretch with this arm. Put it above the weight. Put it above the weight. Put the rubber core above there. Your 2-ounce becomes a 3-ounce. Your 3-ounce becomes a 4-ounce. If you put it below the weight, it'll slip off. But if you put it above the weight, it'll stay on. Instant changing. Instant change of weight. The wire above. Anyway, that's a trick that I used to use, and a lot of guys used to do. And that's about the only good thing a rubber core sinker is good for. All right, your equipment, 6.5 to 12-foot rods. They make 12-foot rods for bottom bouncing. You can buy them at Cabela's. You can buy them at Bass Pro Shop. Makes 12-foot collapsible rods. I don't see a 12. 12-foot rod, I don't know. Like I said, use light action rods so the fish can't feel it. Bait casting reels is what with good drags and clickers. I like to set the drags light so the fish can feel that if they got a fish on, I don't want the drags too heavy. So I want to hear the clickers go out. I don't want the line to pop. 10 to 12 pound test is monofilament line is fine. I'm not that big on using. You're only about, St. Clair River 30, 40 feet deep is what you're mostly fishing in. I know there's 50 to 70 foot holes, but most of the time you're fishing 30 to 40 feet deep, and most of the time that's not a lot of line out. When you got a fish on, I want a little bit of stretch in the line. If you're fishing super line, you got no stretch, that fish makes a play, you're not going to have a lot of time, not a lot of play on the line. Bouncers with spinners is the #1 presentation. I'm not going to argue with success. Spinners for bouncers, tie your snells anywhere from 24 to 48 inches long. Try and time short as possible so you don't tangle on the bottom. But sometimes they want it a lot longer. If they're not catching fish with a short snell, tie them longer. Tie an extension on it. I like to use #2 octopus hooks. Walleye's got a big, tough, hard, bony mouth. I don't know why people use #6, #4 hooks. I even use #1s out for big fish. I don't get cheap on hooks. Gamakatsu are super sharp hooks. The red hooks actually stay red for a long time as opposed to a lot of other hooks. The hook is the only thing that makes real contact with the fish. Don't go cheap on hooks. There's other real good hooks out there. Try your red hooks. Like I said, red hooks do catch more fish. I believe it. Guys have a lot of tournaments been won on them. As opposed to the lake, on the river I use a little bit lighter fluorocarbon leader material. I use 12 to 15 pound test fluorocarbon line for tying my snells. Out on the lake, 17 or 20 pound because there's a lot more muskies and pike out there. Out in the river, I can go lighter because, yeah, there's some, especially in the middle channel and the Snai, but there's not as many in the St. Clair River, so I can get away with tying a little bit lighter snell. If you want to go slow, these are Max Smiley blades, and I got some over here. Those will turn in a hair's breadth. They turn very, very lightly. And in fact, the Foxes talked about them earlier this year. They've been out on the market for about 20 years. Been using them up on the St. Mary's River, been using them up anywhere I've gone, and they catch fish. They have absolutely no thump to them, as opposed like Colorado blades that give off a lot of thump. These have absolutely no thump to them. They're just a piece of mylar plastic. They do have flash. They have a little bit of flash, but they spin like crazy. Any kind of current, so you can go a little slower with those, and they spin great. So you can use those. They work great off the bottom bouncers. In any current, you can go real slow with those. Slow death works great. With slow death, all you need is a hook and a bead and a bit of a crawler. Slow death hooks really, really work. Now they have the ultra slow death hooks, or what they call the super depth hooks. All you do is basically take a bouncer, a leader, and a half a crawler, a piece of Berkeley Gulp works, a full crawler, full piece of Berkeley Gulp on those super depth hooks off your bottom bouncer, especially in August, September, when they start, and even now, they start going off of the spinner bite. I noticed the spinner bite, everybody's talking about it starting to slow down. That's when slow death starts taking off. All it is a crawler and a hook. In fact, I've got them up here. Mustad has them out. Guys out west started to make these, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. All it is like an Aberdeen hook that's bent in the middle. And then Mustad started coming out with them, and then some other guys started coming out with them. They make them in bronze, gold, red hooks. All it's got is a bend in them. You know, you guys can take a look at them. But I've been using these for a long time, since they came out. They work here, they work up in the St. Mary's River, they work all over the place. You can go real slow with them. And all it does is, when you thread them on, because of the bend in the hook, it makes the crawler, instead of the blade turning, it makes the crawler spin. It makes the crawler going around in a circle. Works really, really well for fish that go off the bite. And you don't have to use plastic with them, Berkeley Gulp. Even if you have the wind-out worms, that'll work too. Back half of a wind-out worm. Bouncers with live bait. You can use minnows, leeches, crawlers, plastics, like I said. They all work. Also, other baits. You can use bottom bouncers with small spoons. Your walleye spoons. Small floating rapalas. Like number 9s, 5s, 7s. Floating jig heads, wobblers with pieces of crawler on them. They all work. That'll work if you're not catching anything else. Try those, little McGinty's. Those will work on a bouncer too. If you don't have your hand lines stuff with you. You got to remember, in the springtime, the guys salmon fishing, they use bombers behind bouncers for salmon out in the St. Clair River too. So all that. As far as guys, a lot of guys have problems wondering how to keep bouncers. I've been keeping bouncers in these Plano boxes probably for 20 years. These big, thick, 4-divided Plano bouncers can keep them 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce, 4 ounces. These things hold up great. They hold up in my boat really good. I know there's Amish Outfitters has an expensive package bag, and there's other bags that, these things are like $8. It holds bouncers. You just fold them up, you fold the arm up, put them in here, put them in your boat. That's how I keep mine. And everybody's wondering, how do you keep, having a problem? Now this technique works great all over. I've used it up in Sault Ste. Marie and the channels up there. Burton Mullet Lake works great up there. Hubbard Lake, up in Hubbard Lake, the drops, all those deep lakes up north, there's always a big deep drop, and those walleyes are always on those drops in the morning and the evening. Traverse Bay up north works great up there. Mississippi River up the northern Mississippi River by Red Wing. All the reservoirs out west. This technique, if you get it down here in the St. Clair River, this is probably one of the hardest places to get it down. If you get it down here, you can take this technique anywhere in the country that has current, because nobody has current like here, and be successful. You can be successful fisherman and successful angler anywhere if you get this technique down. And you guys, I know this club, some of the better anglers I've been around. And that's about it. You guys want to take a look at some of the rods and stuff? Just want to see a slow death hook and some of these Macs, how I tie them. Come on upward. Question? Always downstream. If you're going upstream, you better have hand lines. You better have a 1.5 pound, 1 3/4 hand line on you. You're always going downstream just fast enough to make a blade go spinning. And I use a front trolling motor and my back kicker motor. My trolling motor is just to steer. My back kicker motor is just enough power to get my speed right. My front trolling motor is to steer in and out of, because there's ins and outs on the brake line on the, along the shore. Oh, and some areas. I got some areas for you before I go. Sunken islands by the 51 can, that whole big sunken island. For bottom mounts, it goes by fast because of the current, but that deep drop off, those fish are, during the day are right at the base of that thing. You can, there's always fish right there. All the other islands, like Calf Island on the Canadian side, and also the other islands up on the St. Clair River, there's always those deep drops. It holds walleyes all the time. Those are the big islands up there in the St. Clair River are always good areas to fish. But all those drops, and then look for the areas that hold the sand flats, where they have the areas that go up and down, that have sand piles. The piles go up and down like 2 or 3 feet. Those fish will hide right in those sand pile, right behind those sand piles as current breaks. Right by the old St. Clair Inn in St. Clair, there's a flat right there that's got sand. They're like, sand waves right there. Those fish will hide right in those sand piles. Behind those sand piles, those current breaks, and you can run those bouncers, tick those tops of those sand piles right in the middle of the current right there, and they come up, eat your crawler right up there. I mean, it's fairly easy fishing. If you got 2 guys, as long as you can run your bouncers and make sure they're not dragging on the bottom, as long as you can keep them so they're not dragging. That's the biggest thing. Making sure you got enough weight so that it's a good angle, not too far back, not straight down, and as long as you're not dragging, as long as it's ticking bottom occasionally, you're going to do fine. Any other questions? All right.